What's the haps? I'm Oroku and welcome back to WildStar. Welcome back to a WildStar Wonder. We are back in Whitevale for all the W's, and you know I like my alliteration. We're going to wander through. This is a return to Whitevale because I've been here before, and this is actually where I wanted to end the last one. So I figured I'd climb right to the top of the hill and stand on this super high resolution texture and wander back down it for a bit. Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole kind of quest hub down there. I don't think they really expected you to climb right to the top of things, but you entirely can. There's literally nothing stopping you walking up this hill at all. And there's nothing up here. There's nothing to speak of except some scenic vistas and a giant floating chunk of this thing. I hesitate to give it a name because I ain't got a clue what it is. Yeah, that's hanging in the sky. It looks cool. Don't know what it is. Some sort of space technology and things, right? So well, let's go do a wander. This is going to be the last one of the year. This is the video for December. And given how little I've been playing WildStar, I may do one start of January, but then I have a feeling I may kind of wrap up the whole WildStar thing and look for greener pastures. I don't know quite what, but WildStar's not really going anywhere right now. Speaking of which, let's do some WildStar news. Winterfest is upon us. The seasonal time is here, which is why we're here in the bitter driving snow. It's thematically appropriate, guys. That's why I chose it. See, it's all very well nuanced. So, though, for all of my planning, I haven't really picked a route. I just kind of want to wander around. Where are we at? This sort of lower end of the map, which doesn't really, I don't think you get to see that too much. So I kind of just want to wander around and see where that takes us. But in terms of news, we have things in the store, which is really about it, I believe. We have a Chompushanka, which is available for 115 of your Omnibits or 230 of your Protobucks. It's kind of cute, but I ain't paying for that. We also have tacky Christmas sweaters. That's a hoverboard. That wasn't what I clicked on. Great, thanks. Either way, yeah, there are some hoverboards which are signature exclusive, and I guess this is the seasonal things. We have a tacky Winterfest sweater. It's Christmas jumpers. And a tacky holiday sweater, which has a Christmas tree on it, or a Winterfest tree on it, I guess. That's as festive as we get right now. I suppose Winterfest is probably just around the corner, and I would be willing to wager there are probably some other cosmetics in there that I haven't delved deep enough into that they probably added since the last update. But that is neither here nor there. These are the kind of minor updates that, well, are not really the major content I want to see in a game that keeps me playing a game. These are, again, the minor content that appeals principally to the veteran and active, more noteworthy player. I mean, I'd consider myself to be a fairly veteran player at this stage, but I'm not an active veteran player, so more, yeah, the active veterans, yeah, they might want your hats, but to get me and many others back into the game would be nice to see something that's not a raid? I mean, I guess there's obviously an audience for raids, but then I don't think it's a big audience, which is, you know, if we're honest, kind of where the game went wrong in the first instance, it could be argued. They put a heavy focus on raiding, and, well, World of Warcraft acknowledged right back as far as Burning Crusade, really, that people kind of just didn't want massive raiding content. Some people did. They are not your target demographic. If you're trying to make money out of an MMO, you cannot entirely court that sole audience. That audience will not pay your entire dev team's paychecks, quite frankly. And they're maybe not going to buy as many hats, because they're doing the raiding thing and not making themselves look pretty. People like me that like to look pretty and wear silly, broad-brimmed hats. Not that I paid for this, I don't think. I need to do that, yeah, because I think that was going to hurt a lot. So, yeah, sliding down cliffs is not good for your health, kids. Don't do that. Don't do that. You will regret it. So that is all the news that really have got to cover. I imagine Winterfest will be the same as last year. The Halloween stuff was the same as last year, so I've been given no reason to believe that they might do anything different with Winterfest this year. I think it'll be the same kind of go visit the mall and do a bunch of different challenges things, which honestly I kind of dug. I liked that thing. I liked the thing they did. It was like, I don't know, 10 or 12 individual challenges, and it gave you a randomized selection of like 5 of them, I think. And yeah, you kind of got a little bit of a different thing each time, but after you played it through it a few times, you'd seen them all. But either way, you just kind of mixed it up a bit and kept things just a little bit fresh, which was nice. It was a well-delivered event, but unfortunately I feel like they're probably going to deliver the exact same event this year, so that's... Well, don't get me wrong, I would dearly love to be proven wrong, but I genuinely think that's probably what's going to happen. So Winterfest, that's that. A question from a viewer, for I always ask you guys to ask me questions, or at least give me topics to talk about and things. And there was one I had last month that I was supposed to talk about, and I didn't write it down in my notes, so I forgot to talk about it, and my sincerest apologies for that. As I was asked to talk about Pokemon Go. So, honestly, I think this is the first topic anyone's actually given me since this format has moved to WildStar, so... Hey, some folks might argue I would have been better off sticking with Spiral Knights. I'm going to dispute that, but nonetheless... Oh, this is a... Oh, I didn't realize that's a long way... That was a long way down, and I just kind of slipped. Huh, okay, I guess we're at the bottom of the cliff now. That's not where I was expecting to be, not where I was expecting to end up. I didn't expect to just fall off the cliff there. Huh. How about that? Let's walk along the base of the cliffs for a bit, then. So the question, as it was phrased, was talk about the Pokemon Go and its impact on the industries of the world. Or I should have written that down more specifically, because that's not the exact wording, but that was the general gist of it. Pokemon Go, at its launch, had a fairly far-reaching impact. Pokemon Go, as of today, is a modestly popular mobile game, which, because of its IP, still is doing pretty well. I mean, as of a month or two ago, I had heard that it was still the top grossing game on iOS and Android, but that was with a player base that was down by like 80%. That figure is now outdated, I'm quite sure. I'm sure it's probably the player base is probably much lower again since then. It was kind of crazy at launch. You could just kind of go out into pretty much any street in any part of civilization anywhere and just find people of all ages, creeds, colors, genders. Pick a defining characteristic. You could find those people playing Pokemon Go. I went out with a buddy of mine at like 11:30 at night into our fairly small town outside a small city. That's, you know, what I'm getting at is this is not like this is the middle of a major city in the UK. We're suburban is where we're at. Suburban brushing up against rurality. You can walk and find green things from where we live. We went out at 11:30 at night. There were... we must have bumped into like at least 10 people playing Pokemon Go. So that was kind of the scale of the phenomenon. So that was pretty crazy. Its impact on the world? Well, I think it's got a lot of people a lot more exercise than they were getting before, which was definitely good. Which, I suppose, impact on industries, I don't know, maybe that hurts the weight loss industry, because Pokemon Go is now serving as weight loss for people. Weight Watchers probably took a dip in their membership. So that was definitely a good impact on the world. It got people to be a lot more social. There were a lot of random strangers that I just talked to, because we were playing the exact same video game. We just happened to meet in the street and be playing the exact same video game. So we just chatted about it. So there's an element of that. It's a lot more social stuff. I think the biggest impact in terms of affecting any kind of business in the world is just like laws and things, the ability for businesses to draw the players into their region. It's something we attempted to use for our last major button mash real world meat space event. It's very hard to gauge kind of what kind of turnout that actually genuinely attracted. I don't know what the impact is of that. It's a very difficult metric to judge. We put a big sign outside the building saying, hey, we've got lures on the Pokestop, and we kind of just ran lures on all the Pokestops around the building all day long, or as much as we could remember to do and manage to do. We had people telling us all day long, hey, the lures have run out, are you going to put more lures on? It's like, yes, we said we would. Let's put more lures on. So, you know, for the purposes of attracting people to an event, they probably... I think in the end, because we didn't put as many lures on as we wanted, it kind of ended up costing us less than we expected it to, but our initial estimate was that in order to attract all the Pokemon Go players in the city for 8 hours straight over the course of the event would cost us somewhere roughly in the ballpark of £30. This was at a time when it was much more difficult to hang on to the Pokemon gyms, by the way. Right now, I feel like... or certainly a couple of weeks ago before they changed the bloody gym mechanics, I could probably have quite comfortably racked up quite a lot of coins to pay for marketing services, but not to be anymore. That ship has sailed. Gyms are a lot harder to defend. I've got 2. I'm hanging on to 2 desperately, but I can't seem to hang on to much more than that right now. At any rate, yeah, lures, good for bringing people in. If you've got a place where you want to draw people in, you have a cafe or a bar or something, and you want people to just hang around for half an hour or an hour or whatever and buy drinks and sample your wares, you stick a lure on the Pokestop. If you have a Pokestop, so there's kind of a weird random chance element to all that. It's when the game goes live, does our bar have a Pokestop on it? Oh, it does! Oh, good, we got lucky. Great, we can draw people in. Oh, our bar has 3 Pokestops on it. Great. Let's just draw everyone in, because they're going to be far more invested in that than the one down the street that only has 1. Oh, you got nothing? Sorry. That looks rather overgrown. What is that one? It is... I don't know, it's not telling me what it is. Don't know what it is. It looks good, though. Probably going to harvest that. I will say that whole kind of bar effect kind of... I can actively attest to the fact that that was a thing that happened. Just on the basis that there are 2 bars that I rather like in our nearby area. One is okay, they do good beer, and they have 2 Pokestops, and not too far from a gym. 2 Pokestops within easy reach of the beer garden, and 1 gym, but a mere stone's throw from that. So that's convenient if you're wanting to play that game in and around that particular pub. And then there's another one down the road, which I really like. They've got kind of like an arcade cabinet kind of table thing going on, which is really cool. The first time we found it, they had it on like free play, so we just sat and played Space Invaders all evening and filled up the entire high scoreboard with profanity. It was hilarious. And then the second time I went in, they changed it to Donkey Kong and made it 50p a go, so we spent too much money that evening. So, as cool as it is, I'd prefer to see more free play, guys. But that's how you get people... That, guys, is how you get people to hang around in a bar. You put an arcade cabinet on, you leave it on free play. People will hang around your bar for hours on a free play arcade cabinet, just saying. If I ever get my gaming bar, I need some free play stuff going on. So yeah, there's that. Unfortunately, that bar had no Pokestops, so that for a month or 2 there was kind of... Every time we'd go out and like, hey, do you fancy going for a beer or 2? It's like, yeah, sure, yeah. An evening having a few beers sounds good. Yeah, let's go do that. Where do you want to go this evening? Well, we can go to... the place with the Pokestops or the place without the Pokestops. Like, yeah, let's go to the place with the Pokestops and, you know, spin those every... How many minutes is it on cooldown? I feel like it's 5, but it often feels like it's faster than 5. I thought it was 5, I don't know. Every 3 minutes? I don't know. Sit and spin them every 3 minutes for 2 hours. Collect a lot of Pokeballs. Stick some lures on it. Catch the Pokemon while you're sitting there drinking beer. Pretty good business model. So I think that was the biggest impact. I don't think you can get away with that anymore. I don't think that's... At this point in time, I don't think that's a great investment for businesses. At the game's launch, absolutely, yes. Buy yourself a lure, drag in some nerds, have the nerds consume your services. Brilliant, great, you made some money out of that. Wonderful. Now, you stick a lure on it, meh. Who really cares? I mean, I also feel like they've kind of upped the frequency and density of Pokemon spawns anyway. It does seem like there are a lot more of them around now than there were. Why are those guys aggro? What level are they? 28. Those guys shouldn't be able to see me. They shouldn't even care about me. I'm way too big to concern them. At any rate, yeah, if you buy a lure now, you're probably mostly wasting your money. And also, yeah, just by walking through any populated area, you will probably find more than enough Pokemon. The only attraction of lures is to be able to catch Pokemon without actually having to get your ass out of a seat. Which also kind of counteracts the whole exercise thing as well. So, there's an element of that. I suppose the other direct impact in regards to any other business, I suppose, would be as far as marketing and product placement goes. Ingress, the sort of, I guess, the engine the game was based on, the Niantic's previous game, always handled that reasonably casually, subtly, on a small scale kind of thing. One was, there was an insurance company paid to have a really, really, really rare item in the game branded with their name on it. Whether it's still there or not, I don't know. I think they stopped it after a while. Probably when the insurance company stopped paying up. But there was a very, very rare, powerful item that you could get, and it would have, every time you were like, I'm going to shield this, it would have that insurance company's name on it. So you'd be like, oh, yes, okay. They have paid for this privilege, sure. But they were actually so rare that you very rarely actually saw them. So it kind of wasn't a big deal. It was just a minor triviality in the course of the game. At the same time, there were you could kind of pay for temporary locations to appear on your things, and, you know, give those things importance. There was a great example is when I was at PAX, there was a merch booth that was selling a few bits of Ingress-themed merch. They had paid for, I guess, for the duration of PAX East for 3 days, for a portal to appear right on top of their booth where they were selling the merch. And the description of the portal, when you looked at it in-game, was, Ingress merch available here, or words to that effect. I don't know what this is, guys. I'm finding a weird crystalline wall that I can't... Okay, now I need to get over this. I need to figure out a way to get over this wall. What the heck is this? I don't know what this is, but there must be a way over it. Challenge accepted. I like it. I like it. I can work with this. There's steps, there's footholds, there's things. I'm not going to do this now, by the way, but I really, really want to spend half an hour at some point just trying to scramble over this wall, just stepping on things. I feel like it's doable. It looks doable. Looks like potentially doable. Looks like there's some options that might work. I don't know. I'll have to give it a go and find out. Very interesting wall. I like it. Where were we? Yes, paid product placements and whatnot. So you could do that. I think there was like a restaurant chain in America like paid for a portal on every single one of their restaurants for a few months. That's a little bit more egregious and kind of sucked for the players who were holding those locations when the promotion ended and they just removed all the portals from the game. If it's 3 days, you don't have a chance of doing anything particularly significant with it. If it's sat there for 3-4 months, you could potentially earn some useful achieves out of that. And then if they just take it away from you before you reach the ultimate climax of the ultimate achieves, kind of sucks. In Pokemon, what the heck is this bucket about? In Pokemon Go, you kind of had, I think it was in Japan, every McDonald's was a Pokestop, and I think I had also even heard that they were the only Pokestops. This is such a random and arbitrary bit of set design. Who put a bucket here and why? Sir, did you put a bucket here? Colossal Stone Render, is this your bucket? I mean, it's not my bucket. If nobody wants it, I'll take it. Hey, free bucket. How bizarre. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of McDonald's anyway. McDonald's don't do particularly good food, in my book, and they're not a particularly great brand, all things considered. They're generally... They are the universal face of massive multinational conglomerations, right? They are the emblem of capitalism, right? So yeah, not big on the old golden arches. So it seems like Pokemon would kind of have sucked to play in Japan at launch. Which is a shame, because, you know, it's like the homeland of Pokemon. Surely those guys will want to get involved in Pokemon more than anybody. And I guess a lot of them did, which caused a lot of them probably to go to a lot more McDonald's than they otherwise would have done. So it probably paid off very well for the business. I guess that promo's probably ended, because it's probably, not necessarily good value for them anymore. So that's going too far with that kind of thing. I don't approve or condone that, really. Not big on that one. And I'm really, really glad they didn't do anything of the sort over here, or I just wouldn't have played it. Although, to that extent, I don't think we have enough McDonald's in the world for that to work. Or, well, in the you know, the country, the region, territories. You would have to go into the heart of a big city to get even a few. And even then, there would be far less points of interest in the game than there would be if all the actual points of interest were points of interest. It seems like it would be a much less interesting game. I guess sort of in the middle of, like, Tokyo? Yeah, Tokyo, I can see there's probably... It's probably one of those cities where there's actually quite an astonishing amount of McDonald's. Again, probably relative to actual genuine points of interest, probably still less, but maybe enough to actually make the game a playable game and functional and worth attempting to play? I don't know. I'm glad that's in the UK at least. It doesn't really seem to have been adulterated in any significant way. They just keep asking us for money. From their business perspective, they're doing it really badly. Let's do that. That gets me over here. I think they're handling it really badly. I thought they would have known better about how to handle a game of the nature after doing Ingress for a while, but apparently they've not taken any cues from any other free-to-play game ever, because they should be selling cosmetics. People get to see other people's avatars on gyms and things. People would buy hats. You know, people would buy cool Pokemon hats to dress their character up. Hey, it's Christmas. People are going to want to put a Santa hat on their character so that they can be festive. Hey, why don't we just sell them to people for 100 or 200 or 300 Pokecoins or whatever monetary value they decide to assign to it? People would buy those. And they just haven't even touched that. And then you got weird stuff that's like, a lot of promos just like, yes, buy Pokeballs. It's like, no. They drop like candy from everywhere. Yes, it is possible to run out if you get too overzealous, but broadly speaking, almost all of the time you probably will not. And then the value for money on buying the Pokeballs is god-awful. You probably wouldn't do that. I know a few people have gone, oh, alright, go on, I'll buy a few, when they've been absolutely desperate. But mostly the transactions don't go on that. They just haven't... They haven't monetized it well, so I'm surprised it's still as highly grossing as it is. They have not engaged the player base as well, and that's to say nothing of the fact that they've cut out beloved features from the game in favor of introducing other, considerably less beloved features in their stead. Not that they're bad features, but hey, people want tracking. People really, really, really want to be able to track Pokemon. It was one of the best features of the game at launch. They removed it, and they've said little to nothing about bringing it back. I know they kind of are bringing it back in a fashion, but very, very slowly, in like a region-by-region rollout, which is not great. And yeah, just generally their lack of communication on everything is pretty bad, and their just keenness to step on community projects. A lot of people have kind of taken the APIs and done like data mining and things to help other players. Every one of those gets shut down, or most of them. I think the Sylph Road is like the only significant one I'm aware of that's managed to stay afloat, simply because all of their data mining is literally pulled from it's basically just crowd gathered resources and data and stuff. They just get a bunch of players to submit all their data from the game about catch rates and different types. If you hear it's like, oh, throw normal throws versus good throws versus great throws versus excellent throws, and see what their relative catch rates are, and just collecting data that way to find out how, you know, the actual, just trying to divine some of the actual mechanics from the game and like statistics and things. As it is, yeah, that's the only thing that's, you know, Niantic can't really say, oh no, you can't take the numbers from the players from their experiences. But when you're actually pulling data straight out the game, every time anybody attempts to do that, in spite of there being an API to allow you to do that, why are there ProtoStar dolls everywhere? That's really weird. In spite of all that, yeah, every time anyone's like, yay, let's do a thing to aid the players with their Pokemon management and stuff that helps them figure out their Pokemon stats, which are otherwise mostly kind of not very well represented in the game. It's not easy to tell how good a Pokemon is relative to another one of the same type. They have made improvements in that regard, but, you know, any of the systems that existed before those improvements were still better, and Niantic stepped on every single one of them, because they, I don't know, didn't want players metagaming. Hello, are you familiar with how multiplayer games work? Are you familiar with how games work? Metagaming happens, guys. You got a massive multiplayer game. People are going to metagame, and you're not going to create a lot of goodwill by shutting down the services of anybody who attempts to metagame in any way, shape, or form. So, don't do that. Don't do that at all. So that's, I think that's the broad strokes on Pokemon Go. If anybody else has any other things they want me to talk about next month, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will read them. I will try to make a note to remember to actually write them down this time, unlike last time. So, if you want me to talk about a thing, I shall. And I suppose the perennial topic of conversation around here is what's going on the channel. I went to a YouTube Creator Day event over in Manchester the other week, which I guess you probably saw. Or in fact, I say the other week, it was last Saturday. It was last Saturday. You probably saw the sheep video, the Three Amigos. That was a fun video to make, in spite of it being like a minute long. And I was kind of hoping to be a little bit inspired, sort of like, oh, this will give me great ideas for things to do with the channel. And I thought those would really kind of reinvigorate my channel. In terms of gaming, actually kind of didn't, but in terms of other stuff, I now have like 2 other like YouTube channel concepts that I'm sort of mulling over in my head and trying to flesh out ideas and figure out the logistics and planning and stuff. And I don't know, I feel like in the new year, I might launch one or both of those ideas as entirely new YouTube channels. They would be entirely gaming unrelated. So if all you want from me is gaming, they're probably not going to be your cup of tea. I would probably wind up linking them here anyway, just so that, you know, audience can see them. Hello, you guys can come join me on my new adventures. In terms of gaming, I'm not going to lie, I am a little bit burned out on it right now. You'll notice maybe some gaps in content on the channel, and I've just been struggling to find games that particularly enthuse me to cover. And I also had a huge conversation with Fixer last night, which enlightened me into some things that a lot of YouTubers do, or some YouTubers do, that I wasn't even aware happened. Kind of put a lot of things into context. Like, I feel like I make an effort to make decent content on the channel, but apparently that's not what works on YouTube, broadly speaking. All the channels that have grown to be hugely successful within the span of the last couple of years, we're not talking about the channels that first became successful in gaming on YouTube. We're talking about channels that have, in more recent times, become successful in gaming on YouTube. They have all done it by putting in a lot of extra work outside of the video content. It's not necessarily about the video content anymore. It's about everything else tangential to the video content. It's putting in ridiculous amounts of research on market trends and statistics and people's things people will get enthused in, and engaging them on that level so that you can hit the search traffic. And I don't know, that's a lot of work that appeals to a certain kind of personality, and it's not me. For me on this channel, I've always liked making, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I've always liked making reviews. I like doing reviews to the highest quality standards I can possibly make them. That's what I dig. And that as a format is not conducive to the way the internet works right now, which is beating everybody else to be first at a thing that's likely to engage as many people as possible. Just being first. It's like, it's not necessarily, regardless of content, regardless of quality of content, just being the first do it. And I was aware there was an element of that. I've usually tried to get my reviews out fairly quick, but at the same time, I'm not willing to sacrifice on quality. I'm not going to be like, I'll just get this video out as fast as possible. I'm not too bothered about whether I've actually played enough of the game to get a handle on it. No, I will play enough of the game as I need to actually fully, to have fully explored the game and all its nuances and intricacies before I'm actually willing to lay down any opinion on it. There's a big world boss up there, by the way. That's why I'm not fighting that guy. That guy's like, that requires like 40 level 50s, and I ain't touching it. Actually, I don't know. Does it require that? Maybe like 20. I don't know. It's a raid, is what it is. It's certainly not for me. So he's all going down here. It's like, hey, you can let Metal More Prime out. He's fun to play with. No, not happening. So yeah, basically, a lot of the work that's necessary to actually become successful on YouTube is not the part of the job that I enjoy doing, or I'm particularly good at, and it's not conducive to me making the kind of content I want to see, which is just, like, a little bit demoralizing, a bit disheartening, and, oh god, I didn't realize there was a chasm here. You could kind of almost get stuck in there. Wow, okay. That's a bit of world design for you. Huh, how about that? Sure. So maybe I'll step back on the gaming. I don't want to give up doing gaming on YouTube, but I have oftentimes kind of pushed myself to make videos that I didn't necessarily want to make, but I've just been like, I have a gap in my schedule and I'm telling myself I need to try to make a video every day, regardless of whether I particularly want to or not. And I can't help but feel that that probably comes across in the videos. If I don't actually really necessarily want to be here making the videos, y'all are smart, y'all can probably tell these things, right? You can tell when a person is doing something they don't want to be doing. There are some games that I've kind of forced myself to play just because I wanted content on the channel, and they've turned out okay. I've been like, oh, this is actually a pretty decent game, this is okay, I don't mind this. But then there are others that I've just been like, can someone hurry up and release a good game? Not that it does anything for my channel growth, not that it does anything for my entertainment value, not that it does much for your entertainment value. It's just there to fill a gap because I've set myself a schedule and I have to stick to it. So in that regard, maybe that kind of content I could probably drop, and I don't think anything of value will be particularly lost. And the upshot of which is that mostly what I would move to making on the channel is videos that I want to make as and when I want to make them. If I'm not in a mood for making a video, instead of just making half-hearted mediocre content, I simply won't make it. If there are no video games that interest me, I'm not going to force myself to make a video about a video game that doesn't interest me, because who cares about that? I will review the games that interest me. I will play the games that get me hyped. There will probably still be Let's Plays, because I had always planned to fully Let's Play stuff like Valhalla. If there's games like that coming out in the future, I probably still would. I will still do collabs, I'll still probably do Hearthstone with Tolkers, but I think come the new year, I just feel like I want to focus more of my efforts on projects that I enjoy and would inspire me, as opposed to focusing an unnecessary amount of my time and energy on projects that neither benefit me nor my audience. It's kind of where we're at. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of chasing numbers and tags and SEO to be the first to cover everything, because now that I've actually had a glimpse behind that particular curtain as to what people are actually doing, that's just something I just don't condone, agree with, or want to get on board with. The kind of the practices and, I guess, best practices that people would advocate using, I'm not on board with that. I don't want to be doing that. So, I won't. I guess I will give up my dream of ever being a hugely famous video gaming YouTuber in exchange for the happiness of simply being a contented YouTube video game hobbyist, which is probably a much better lifestyle, to be honest. Equally, as I say, that would free up some time that I would have to work on other projects. I would like to put more time into the real world button mash event stuff in the new year, as opposed to what I'm doing right now, which is, again, focusing too much time on projects that I don't want to be focusing on. So, that would be a better thing to focus on, as well as these potential 2 new channels. So these are just all going to be better uses of my time and energy and enthusiasm, I think, really. So whereas, oh, I'm probably not going to make as much in the way of video gaming in January, doesn't necessarily come across as the most positive sounding thing. I want to take it in a positive direction. I'm cutting a lot of the chaff in favor of the wheat, so that the wheat is better, and so that I can make other wheats, different kinds of wheat, to continue labouring this analogy. Yeah, other wheats would be good. We shall have wheats. That's kind of a funky screenshot. I haven't had a good screenshot today, so yeah, we're gonna do that. Let's have one of those. Me hovering in front of a giant teleport thing. I dig that. Nice. Let's have a wavy screenshot as well. Woo! Wavy screenshots. Great. Now, I suppose it's probably where we wind things up today, though. I've talked about all the things I need to talk about. Of course, December will be narrative month. I can give you a sneak preview. Starting tomorrow, there will be sorcery. Following on from that, we also have Tavernier or Tavernier. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. All the way through it, I called it Tavernier, just because I like it. It sounds like sommelier, which is a drinking thing. Look it up if you know what it is. So yeah, that was the thing I've kind of looked at for a couple months on the channel. It's like, yeah, that seems like that's kind of my jam. So I've played through that. I've got a full playthrough of that ready to go up on December. I probably need something after that, but I haven't recorded it yet, but I've got a couple ideas as well. So there are a few story-based games that will be going out throughout December, mostly because I am so busy with work that I won't have time to record video, which also ties into the fact that I'm not going to be first to cover anything whatsoever. I'm just going to cover the things I want to. So narrative month, it's fun for me. It gets me terribly low reviews if last year was anything to go by, but your options are you can have narrative month or you can have no content for a month, so pick. Alright, thank you very much for watching. I have been Maroka. This has been WildStar Walks. We have been in Whitevale, and it is Winterfest. And are there any other words that begin with W? Wave! Wave begins with W. See you next time.